American tanks are junk. The sentiment wasn't a casual opinion. It was an article of faith within the elite SS Panzer divisions by the summer of 1944. Thin armor, weak guns, they'll burn like torches. This was the conviction held by the crews of the mighty Tigers and Panthers, 80-ton steel fortresses engineered as masterpieces of war. Their guns could punch through a Sherman's frontal armor at 2,000 yards, while the American reply would bounce off like a pebble. On the technical manuals, in the cold calculus of armor thickness and muzzle velocity, it was no contest. The Americans mass-produced the M4 Sherman, a machine derided as a Ronson lighter for its tendency to ignite. The Germans built mechanical titans, each Tiger a 300,000 man-hour monument to precision. The SS training manuals mocked the Sherman as a Tommy Cooker. The common joke was that it took 5 Shermans to kill 1 Panther. The equation was simple, clean, and utterly wrong. Because when General George S. Patton's Third Army smashed into France, something impossible happened. Those inferior Shermans didn't just survive, they dominated. And the story of that domination, the true story, is etched not in American after-action reports, but in the intercepted radio transmissions, the private diaries, and the stunned, incredulous words of the SS Panzer crews who were defeated by them. This is what they actually said, when the myth of their invincibility burned away in the fires of reality. August 1944. The bocage of Normandy. SS Obersturmführer Hans Funk sat in the turret of his Panther, studying intelligence reports with growing irritation. The documents, distilled from pre-invasion assessments, were dismissive. American tank doctrine was primitive, designed for infantry support, not armored duels. His Panther's frontal armor was 80 millimeters thick, sloped at 55 degrees. A Sherman standard 75 round would simply shatter against it. The Panther's own gun, the legendary long-barreled 75 kW K-42, could slice through 140 millimeters of steel at 1,000 meters. The math was irrefutable. German engineering superiority equaled battlefield dominance. This belief was the bedrock of their confidence. Intercepted communications from the 1st SS Panzer Division before the invasion had been contemptuous. Their tanks are designed for quantity, not quality, one report noted. They will learn the price of industrial thinking versus warrior spirit. The SS warrior ethos was built on the supremacy of the individual, the elite crew in an elite machine. They were the masters of the long-range kill, the perfect duel where their technical advantages were absolute. They looked at the Sherman and saw a crude, flammable box. They looked at their own tanks and saw destiny. But there was something their calculations, so precise on paper, completely failed to account for. Something that didn't appear in any specification table for armor or guns. Something George Patton understood in his bones. Wars are not won by the best tanks, but by the best asterisk use of tanks. When Operation Cobra broke the Normandy deadlock, Patton unleashed a style of warfare the SS Panzer doctrine had never envisioned. While German commanders painstakingly positioned their Panthers and Tigers on ideal defensive ground, waiting for the long-range engagement they were built to win, Patton's Shermans simply refused to play the game. The radio intercepts from late August tell the story of this profound confusion. SS Hauptsturmführer Werner Wolf, commanding a Panther company near Argenton, transmitted in obvious frustration. Enemy tanks bypassing our positions. They refuse direct engagement. Request orders. The orders never came. Allied fighter-bombers had severed German communications lines. By the time Wolf's company tried to reposition, American artillery, called in by infantry observers, was already raining down on their coordinates. 3 Panthers were destroyed without ever sighting an American tank. 2 more broke down during the attempted retreat, their finely tuned but fragile final drives shattered and were abandoned. The first cracks in the SS confidence appeared not from enemy shells, but from operational paralysis. Crews began to whisper about things their manuals never mentioned. The Sherman was fast, capable of 30 miles per hour on a road. A Panther was lucky to manage 15, and that was on a good day before something broke. The Tiger's transmission was so notoriously weak that crews joked, "You needed another Tiger to tow the first one." Mechanical reliability wasn't glamorous, but on the battlefield it was everything. A broken-down tank was a dead tank. A Sherman that kept moving was a threat. The dismissive tone in the intercepts began to waver, replaced by a new note of anxious reporting. September 1944. The Lorraine Campaign. This is where the shock began to set in, where the myth met the relentless, grinding reality of Patton's operational tempo. The Wehrmacht threw fresh, elite Panzer brigades, the 111th and 113th, into blocking positions. These units had brand-new Panthers straight from the factories. On paper, they were an impassable wall of steel and high-velocity fire. The reality was documented in German field reports later captured by American intelligence. SS Sturmbannführer Ernst Barkmann, a Panther ace with 82 confirmed kills and a Knight's Cross, recorded his engagement near a Rackort with barely concealed shock. "We took positions on a ridgeline per doctrine," he wrote. "Perfect fields of fire over 500 meters, clear visibility. American Shermans appeared in strength. We counted 40-plus vehicles in column formation. We engaged at maximum range. Multiple hits confirmed on lead vehicles, but they kept coming. They didn't retreat. They didn't hesitate. They advanced through our fire." What Barkmann, from his static defensive position, could not see was the tactical adaptation happening in real time. American crews had learned the 75 guns limitation in a frontal duel, so they stopped fighting frontal duels. They used the terrain, the hedgerows, and smoke screens. They used their superior speed and numbers to flank. At 500 yards, a Sherman could not penetrate a Panther's front, but at 300 yards it could punch through the thinner side armor. At point-blank range, even the rear engine deck was vulnerable, and there were always more Shermans. The radio traffic from a Rackort crackled with German disbelief. One Panther commander reported, his voice strained with static and stress. "They attack in groups of 5 or 6 vehicles. When we engage the lead tank, others flank at high speed. Our turret traverse cannot track multiple threats simultaneously." The Panther's electric turret traverse was smooth but slow. A full 360-degree rotation took about 20 seconds. The Sherman's hydraulic traverse did it in 8. In a close-range knife fight, those 12 seconds were a lifetime, and often the difference between life and death. The intercepts show the language shifting from tactical reports to something closer to bewilderment. They were not just facing tanks. They were facing a swarm, a system that sought weak points with relentless, mechanized aggression. The psychological impact was profound. The Panther and Tiger were more than weapons. They were symbols of German technological and martial superiority, physical extensions of the Nazi ideology of dominance. When these symbols burned, when the impenetrable armor was pierced by a tank they had been taught to scorn, something deeper than metal broke. A captured diary from an SS Rottenführer in the 11th Panzer Division described the moment his company lost 6 Panthers in 15 minutes. "They came from everywhere at once. We destroyed 3, maybe 4 of theirs, but more kept appearing from the smoke like ants swarming. Our company commander's Panther took a hit to the engine deck. How did they get behind us so quickly? Schreber's tank brewed up instantly. The crew didn't escape." Then a revealing line: "The Americans don't fight like soldiers. They fight like businessmen conducting a transaction. Efficient, emotionless, overwhelming." This was the core of the clash of systems. The SS valued individual crew excellence and technological grandeur. Patton had industrialized warfare to a degree they could not comprehend. His doctrine emphasized logistics, combined arms, and the constant, suffocating application of pressure. When a Sherman was destroyed, another replaced it within hours. When a Panther was lost, it was often gone for good, its complex parts unreplaceable in the shattered German supply network. The kill-loss ratio that German propaganda claimed was 5-1 in their favor began to even out dramatically in actual combat. In some engagements, Shermans came out ahead. The intercepted communications from this period show a dramatic shift. The arrogance is gone, replaced by a focused, urgent concern that slowly curdles into something darker. December 1944. The Battle of the Bulge. This was Germany's great desperate gamble, the operation designed to prove their superiority once and for all. SS Obersturmbannführer Joachim Paper led Kampfgruppe Paper a spearhead of 72 Panthers and Tigers, the absolute elite of the SS Panzer forces. Their mission was to slash through thin American lines, seize bridges, and create panic. Success depended on speed, surprise, and the unquestioned superiority of German armor. Initially, the intercepted radio traffic was euphoric. On December 17th, Paper reported his Tigers had crushed an American armored column at Bognes. The old confidence flared. The Americans were running. The myth seemed validated. Then Patton performed the maneuver that broke the German operational mindset. He disengaged the Third Army from its fight in the Saar, wheeled it 90 degrees north, and force-marched it 100 miles through blizzards in 48 hours to relieve Bastogne. The German High Command dismissed the initial reports as propaganda. It was geometrically, logistically impossible, but Patton's army did it. The intercepts from the blocking forces around Bastogne tell the story of a devastating realization. SS Hauptsturmführer Ralph Reiser transmitted on December 23rd, American armored column approaching from south. Strength estimated 2 battalions. We are prepared and in position. 3 hours later, his tone had shattered. Under sustained attack. Americans employing tank infantry artillery coordination we cannot match. They have air superiority. Fighter bombers attacking our positions. Request reinforcements urgently. Situation critical. The reinforcements did not come. They were out of fuel. The Bulge offensive exposed the fatal flaw beneath the technical marvel, catastrophic logistics. A Panther's massive Maybach engine gulped 2 gallons of fuel per mile in combat. They were beasts that starved to death quickly. Meanwhile, the American logistical machine was an unbreakable chain. Every Sherman that reached Bastogne had fuel, ammunition, and spare parts waiting. The contrast was absolute, but it was more than fuel. An intercepted conversation between 2 Panzer commanders near Bastogne, picked up by Allied signals intelligence, reveals the exhaustion of the German system itself. One officer, his voice ragged, said, "Their tanks are everywhere simultaneously. How do they maintain such operational tempo? Our crews are physically and mentally exhausted. We've been fighting for 6 days straight." The other replied with grim insight. They rotate crews like factory workers, fresh drivers, fresh gunners. Like a factory shift change, it's inhuman but effective. This was the secret weapon, interchangeability. American soldiers were trained as components of a vast, resilient system. A crewman from one tank could step into another and fight. German crews were bonded, elite units, incredibly effective when whole but brittle. A single casualty could cripple a tank's efficiency. The American system absorbed loss and kept functioning. The most telling documents from this period are not tactical logs, but the private writings of SS officers, never meant for history. A letter from SS Untersturmführer Klaus Bergen, captured in March 1945, is brutally honest. They are not warriors in the traditional sense, these Americans. They are technicians, mechanics, production line workers in uniform, but that is precisely why they win. We sought glory in individual combat, tank versus tank. They sought efficiency and mass application of force. Our Panthers were magnificent machines operated by superb crews. Their Shermans were adequate machines operated by adequate crews, but they had 50 for every one of ours and 50 more behind those. The post-war interrogation of SS Sturmbannführer Otto Skorzeny pinpointed the moment of understanding. I realized we had lost the war when I saw how quickly Americans repaired damaged tanks on the battlefield. A Sherman takes a hit, becomes immobile. 3 hours later, a recovery vehicle appears with a maintenance crew. They change the entire transmission under fire, and the tank is fighting again by nightfall. A Panther breaks down. It might wait weeks for parts from Germany if the factory wasn't bombed, if the trains were running. The myth had inverted. Reliability and repairability, once scorned as unglamorous, were now the decisive advantages. By early 1945, the transformation in the German voice was complete. The dismissive chatter about Tommy Cookers had vanished from the airwaves. In its place was a sober, fearful respect. A March 1945 intercept from the 12th SS Panzer Division is representative. American armor advancing in regimental strength. M4 Shermans with 76mm high-velocity guns. They are not asterisk inferior tanks. Repeat, they are not asterisk inferior equipment. They maneuver with tactical skill and press attacks aggressively. Crews are experienced and competent. We cannot hold this position. The desperate plea for air support went unanswered. The Luftwaffe was extinct. The final, crushing testimony comes from the personal diary of SS Obersturmbannführer Rudolf von Ribbentrop, who commanded a Panther battalion against Patton's 4th Armored Division. After losing 18 of his 22 tanks in 2 days, he wrote, "We were told American tanks were coffins on tracks, that one Panther equaled 5 Shermans. This was a fatal lie that cost German lives. Their tanks may be simpler, but their system is superior in every way that matters. They coordinate armor, infantry, artillery, and air power into a single integrated weapon. We Germans fight as individual components, excellent components, but separate, hopping for victory through superior will and technology. The Americans win through superior integration and overwhelming resources." This was the ultimate truth spoken by the defeated. Tank versus tank, gun versus gun, the Panther was often superior. But Patton and the American industrial military system he embodied never fought that fight. They changed the contest. They made it about operational speed, logistical depth, tactical flexibility, and relentless production. The war was not a duel of champions. It was an assembly line of victory. When Germany surrendered in May 1945, Allied forces captured over 2,300 German armored vehicles, most immobilized, out of fuel and abandoned. They were silent, complex monuments to a failed philosophy. Patton's Third Army, driven by the inferior Sherman, had advanced 600 miles in 281 days of constant combat. America built 49,234 Shermans during the war. Germany built approximately 6,000 Panthers and 2,300 Tigers. When a Sherman was lost, another took its place. When a Panther fell, it left a hole that could never be filled. In the cold light of interrogation rooms after the war, captured SS Panzer commanders were asked the decisive question: what was the most significant American advantage? The answer was unanimous. It was not the gun nor the armor. It was, as one officer put it with grudging clarity, your tanks could fight all day and drive all night. Ours could fight superbly for 4 hours, then needed maintenance that might never come. That is not a weapon system. It is a liability. The final intercepted communication from an identified SS Panzer unit, dated April 28, 1945, near Munich, serves as their collective epitaph. The transmission was brief and final. Americans have broken through our final line. We have no fuel to relocate, no ammunition for sustained combat. This is likely our final transmission. What we were told about enemy tank inferiority was propaganda that cost German lives unnecessarily. Their Shermans destroyed us not because they were better machines in isolation, but because they were better applied as part of a superior system. Tell this truth to whoever survives this war. The myth died with them, in the fields of France and the forests of the Ardennes, a myth shattered not by a better tank, but by a better idea. An idea that efficiency, reliability, and overwhelming systematic support will, in the end, defeat even the most magnificent of isolated machines. The SS Panzer crews learned this lesson too late, and their own words, filled with shock, confusion, and ultimate realization, are the most powerful testament to Patton's brutal, effective genius. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please hit that subscribe button and leave a comment to encourage me for making such content. See you in the next video.